that's what's going on. It's been a very awesome week, and just things just keep going in the right direction. And it's all because of everything that's everybody's doing. It's this whole community. It's people working together. It's people like that we're about to introduce. Dr. Leon. People don't know there's a lot of people that do things in the background. And I know Dr. Leon is very good at getting the message out and using Google and using YouTube to produce and move our message. And that's some of the things that he's been doing in the background, everyone. But also Dr. Leon is very knowledgeable about Ethereum and what's going on with this triple halving. So if we could welcome aboard Tim.
Here he is, Dr. Leon.
Hey, Dr. Leon. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very good, sir. So, Dr. Leon, just introduce yourself to the community. Yeah, I know you've been with us a little bit, but could you just tell everybody how long you kind of been with bees.social and kind of what drew you?
Well, so many of us were brought in by Patrick. I can't deny that.
Yep.
So, Patrick brought me in last fall. I believe it was November. Is when I actually got started in here. So, yeah, I got into a pool back then, and that's kind of where I got going and got started with all of this that's going on today. So, yeah.
Cool. No, definitely. And if you kind of just jump into it, because I know you reached out to me, and it was pretty. You're very knowledgeable about this triple halving. And
well, before we get into the triple halving, I kind of want to just go into Ethereum for a minute.
Sure.
And what's actually coming up next week, that's extremely important. How many of you guys know what's driving the price up right now?
Go ahead.
Well, it's supply and demand, and they know that supply is going to change, right?
No, you're a little off topic here, but
I'm talking about Ethereum.
Yes, Ethereum.
Okay.
Ethereum. Ethereum was Vitalik's baby, but he kind of copied Bitcoin a little bit when he started this whole thing. And so one of the things he did was use miners, much like Bitcoin does. And even though he made it faster and easier, it actually set us up to be a roadblock. And that's what's keeping us from scaling and going higher and having less fees to pay. Okay. Because these miners out there are making money.
Right.
You think they're not making money, you're crazy. Here's what's actually going on with the miners. They get roughly around 12,800 ETH per day to run the network.
Okay.
That's a healthy amount.
That's ETH. Last week when this was originally calculated, was 25,600,000. I just calculated it before the show because we got up to 2,500 on ETH. That's 32 million, per day that the miners are dumping in the market.
Right.
They mine that out and dump it in the market. They are not the kind of people that are holding this and waiting till it gets higher. They need the cash, so they mine it and they dump it. And that's the mining economy, and that's what it's set up. So basically, there's a lot of sell pressure on ETH. But the interesting thing that's going on is ETH has been outselling the supply. So even though we're dumping all this ETH in there, we're selling more than we're dumping in. And so that's what's really driving things right now. One of the things that's really key that's coming up next week is on August 4th, we have EIP 1559. And that's really going to change several things, but there's one main thing that it's going to change, and the miners really don't like it because it's going to take money out of their pocket. And so when that actually happens, basically we're going to start burning a little ETH every day. Now, to give you an example, if this was calculated back on June 8th, there was somebody calculated how much would have been burned in the last 365 days on June 8th, and that was 2,967,937 ETH for a net reduction of 76% in the Ether supply over that period.
Wow.
That's a big reduction, basically.
Sure it is.
I mean, the actual proposal is trying to increase the Ethereum transaction efficiency. It's using a hybrid method of base fees and tips to more easily incentivize the miners in periods of high and low network congestion. And the proposal is a base fee algorithm determined price that you pay on a transaction or Ethereum. Tips are actually going to be optional, but they will speed up the process if you do that. So we're actually going into this fee that is going to be separated and different than what we've been paying starting August the 4th. And that fee is going to get burned on every transaction. And so what we've seen is that basically that's about 8,000 ETH per day that's going to get burned. So out of that 12,800 ETH per day the miners are making, now they're going to start losing about 2/3 almost of their ETH.
Right.
So the miners haven't been real happy about this whole EIP 1559 because that's just going to take money out of their pocket. But
unlike Bitcoin, Dr. Leon, right? Bitcoin has the 21 million coins now, and you hear different things. Ethereum right now really has no like limit of tokens, is there? I mean, it's kind of
there's no set amount because we come out with more every day,
right?
For the miners.
Right.
You know, that's where it's coming from, is to drive the entire ecosystem to be able to have the people do the computer work that's involved in running these blockchains. And so that will change probably after the first of the year. And we'll get into that in just a second. But I kind of really wanted to cover this drop in ETH production, not production, but the 8,000 burn is big because, you know, you're talking, that's a lot of ETH per day to be burning.
Yeah,
and so it's going to change the entire complexity of everything. But once we move into what's called proof of stake, then we will no longer actually have the miners mining anymore. The proof of stake is actually going to change the whole playground, but our playground starts changing next week on August the 4th, and that's what's been driving the prices back up, because the people want to get in before we start having less supply.
Right.
Okay. And so, and you may have heard about this, but I think it was last month, there was we're pretty sure it was an institution, but they put in over $500 million into Ethereum getting ready for the staking. They used over 100 IPs, but it was all the same wallet. And so there are big players moving into this, getting ready for the proof of stake instead of what we're currently doing. And that is, when we move to proof of stake, you're going to have 32 ETH minimum to be able to be a player in that game. Okay. And once we move to proof of stake, it's going to change the whole complexity. Let's see. You're going to reduce the ETH production from 12,800 a day down to 1,280 ETH per day. That's a 90% reduction in our ETH that's being put out every day.
Right.
So that's where you're talking about your triple halving, is because we're reducing the amount of ETH that's coming out by 90%. Okay. And that our yearly inflation for ETH is 4.3%, and that's going to drop to 0.43%. So less than 0.5%. And that's the equivalent of 3 Bitcoin halvings. That's where you're getting what they call the triple halving. And so, that's where we're headed with this whole thing, is that we're moving to proof of stake. That's probably going to happen early 2022. And miners won't be needed. People that are staking Ethereum will be needed. And so people that are staking Ethereum are less likely to sell it because they want to keep it and add it into their stake so they can make more money. And so you're going to have less and less new Ethereum coming on as a supply. And
plus,
so
it's great. Plus, it's with DeFi and all that stuff too, Dr. Leon. It gets locked up in those liquidity.
Well, see your big players that are staking, like like your exchanges and stuff. That's where they're getting the money from to let you stake for like 5% or whatever. They'll be able to make more, but they're going to use your money to do it. Okay, so that's where some of the staking will come from. Once we move to proof of stake, is that they're going to use your money in a staking scenario and pay you less than what they're getting, but they're still they're going to make something off of it. And so that's the idea, is that there's going to be around 1,280 ETH per day, and which is a 90% reduction, and we're still going to be burning ETH per day. We talked about 8,000, and if we reduce that by 90%, let's say that's going to get us about 800 ETH per day that we're going to burn. That's only leaving us with about 480 ETH that we're talking about as far as a new supply coming out on a daily basis.
Which is a huge difference.
It's going to be a big shock to the system when proof of stake goes into play. And that is what's going to drive the price up. The closer we get to the first of the year, the more the price is going to go up. Well, it's the same thing that's happening now from what's going to happen next week. The price has been going back up because of what's coming next week. Okay.
Right.
From there on, it's just, keep waiting that we get closer to proof of stake, which will happen early next year. And when that does, ETH is going to be, doing very, very well for all of us.
And that's why it's an awesome thing about how we set up with bees.social and the pairings that we used for the assets of whether it's Wafu, Pixel, Starwire, M2. You can see why that this one was kind of chosen, right? So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but the price, that's why we're going up now, is because of what's happening next week. And what's happened next week is just really just a small sample of what we're going to get at the beginning of the year. We're going to go into, a massive ETH price change because there's just not going to be the supply there, and the demand will be there.
Right. There's a question.
Mims Crypto says, does this mean ETH and gas will be very cheap on August 4th or the other way around?
Basically, there's a lot of controversy over what that's actually going to do as far as whether the price of gas will go down or go up. It's really hard to tell at this point because the way it's changed, a lot of people think it's going down. It is set, but the actual block is, they're making the block flexible. So it's actually, the block can be bigger or smaller depending on the need for what's going on. That's one of the things that's happening with next week, is we're actually getting a flexible block. And so it will move the price around. And so if it's a bigger block, it's going to be a bigger price, but whether you actually pay to get it done faster is up to you, because, it's a tip for the miners and it's going to be optional, but it's still kind of like what we've got today. If you want to get it done, you're going to pay a little more.
So, and I believe too, it's not going to be really as tied to Bitcoin anymore. I mean, it's really going to do its own movement here, right? I mean, Bitcoin can do its own thing as well too, but this is really a big deal because it's going to get its own sea legs and do its own thing. I'm just kind of thinking, right? Well,
yeah. I mean, actually, there's been a lot of, if you've looked at the market, a lot of time this year that Ethereum is putting more as far as market sales out there than Bitcoin has. And so yeah, there's a lot of people think that at some point Ethereum's going to flip Bitcoin and have a lot more, because there's a lot more usage for Ethereum in a lot of different ways. And so that's really, yeah, where it's headed is, yeah, our price is going to go up, Ethereum's going to go up, but there's more usage and there'll be more ways to make use of it, especially once we get to proof of stake. That's really where the gas prices will drop. Once we get to proof of stake, it's going to be a lot less as far as gas goes then, but we're hoping and anticipating that the prices will drop a bit with the EIP 1559 next week, but there's other people that are saying it's going to go the other way. So,
right. And all we're hoping for is a smooth rollout, right?
Yep.
Yes.
That's pretty much it. We don't have a lot of choice in that one.
No, it is. And you just got to think, man, how big of a deal for that, and the developers all rolling that out. That's something. That's very cool. So is there any questions in there, Tim, or no? I was just going to
No real questions. Everybody's excited. Here, actually one, no, we got that one.
Yeah, we got that one.
So I'll just add that I think prices are just going to soften a little bit, because you said the blocks are going to be flexible and these guys are not going to be making as much. So they're going to be more competition to get that done, and they'll do it at a cheaper price. So I think that, we're going to see a gas go down just a touch, but that is my personal opinion for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah. For entertainment purposes, where nobody really knows until it actually hits the rubber meets the road, I mean,
right. Well, the
we're
price
hoping
will
it
drop,
goes down.
the cost of ETH will go up. I mean, the price of ETH is going to go up, right? And then the price of the transaction will go down. So it's going to be, you're not going to feel it as much.
Yeah, the price of ETH is going to go up for one simple reason. Once we hit next week, we're starting to burn ETH every day.
Right.
And so that burning of ETH is decreasing the supply. And the supply, we've been outstripping the supply for a while now, as far as demand goes. And it's just going to get more as we get past next week,
Right.
August 4th next week, the supply drops on a daily basis. We're not getting as much. And so then when we get to proof of stake, we'll have even less. It's going to be a huge shock then. We have a 90% reduction in the ETH that's being produced on a daily basis. That's just going to drive the price up the closer we get to the first of the year.
Yep. How long have you been into crypto anyway, Dr. Leon? You've been in for a bit?
Just since November, probably.
Oh, okay. So that's cool. And then you just dove in.
We're the same age. You and I got in the same time.
There you go. And it is, I mean, that's what's funny. A lot of us, I mean, I did some marketing for that kind of stuff for 2 years before, but I didn't really know, I'm just kind of, being a mouthpiece for it. But then you start getting into, when we got in this in August, diving really deep in what this is. What's the biggest attraction to you? Is that this is going to be a disruption, or that you, what are you thinking?
Well, basically, if you're looking at, again, the Federal Reserve, they don't have nothing behind what they're doing anyway.
That's right.
If you watch Robert Kiyosaki's videos at all, you'll understand that fiat currency, at some point we could see a collapse.
Yeah.
It's right. Not unrealistic to think that at some point we just can't keep printing money with nothing behind it. Nope.
Well, and it will. You're seeing lifeboats coming over here all the time. It's just a shame. I feel bad for regular people. That's why I get so excited, and even trying to tell friends and people around me, because this is one of those times where that helicopter is hovering over your house, and you just been through a hurricane. You're like, don't miss getting off your roof, right, with this ladder. So right. I don't know. It's a little crazy.
You listened to that joke too many times, didn't you?
It did. It is. All kinds of stuff coming by, Dr. Leon. There's all kinds of life rafts, man. But it is.
That guy that was a preacher, and he kept telling God, God was going to save him, and he just waved everybody on, and finally, nobody saved him, and he asked God, well, what happened? He said, well, how many times did I have to send you something before you take advantage of it?
That's right. And that's how we feel around here. I don't know. And what's funny, Dr. Leon, is like this, like Tim and we were just talking about before you came on, is now that it's recovering, you see how many people start reaching out to you now? Hey, man, I remember talking to you like a little while ago about that. How is it now? And it is more comfortable now that it's more expensive.
Well, we all knew that EIP 1559 was coming. It was expected in July, but it got pushed back a couple of weeks. So by next week, once this hits, we're not. I don't think we're going to see it dropping significantly like it did again. I think we'll at least hold and probably go up some more. And as we get closer to the first year, then that's where it's going to start zooming up even more.
Right. Well,
sounds like a plan.
It does. That's what I know what everybody's looking for. But I keep telling we and Tim talking about. I know what we're also trying to do, and if we could just get a little more time.
Well, I don't think we got a lot more time. It's just going to keep going up. I'm afraid that's what I see. That's why I bought some back when it was 1,700.
I know. Hey, every time it went around anywhere below 2,000, I was doing the same thing, Dr. Leon. So.
Well, Dr. Leon, you and I got in the same time. ETH was 590.
Yeah,
when it bought in,
yeah.
And that was, I was like, ooh. When it was 590, I was like, I think it's a good idea, but this, what's going to happen? And now I'm like, it's great. Let's go.
Yep.
So yeah.
You're going to make money if you hang on to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. I get it. Even for anyone, our psychology is always, it bumps like that and people sell out. And that's the beautiful thing again about DeFi, locking up your value. These NFTs, these asset-backed NFTs gives you a little more mobility. I hope people don't over leverage themselves and get wiped out that way. So there's a lot of things, that we'll be talking about going forward, because there's ways that you can just kind of really make your capital work for you. So just good stuff. Appreciate you, Dr. Leon. You got any other words of wisdom?
No, just make sure you got all the ETH you want now.
I'm right there with you. And same thing with them too, everybody. I mean, if you could see it, this is the time. If you could get in,
Exactly. If you haven't really noticed, I mean, everything we do is tied to ETH, and every time ETH goes up, so does all of our other products.
That's right. Just didn't buy enough, huh, Scott? Yeah.
M2s, back up to, about 0.0035 again. So,
I went backwards. Scott said he originally bought for $30. He's been in a while there.
Scott.
Now he's bragging.
What did you buy at $30?
The Ethereum.
I think he bought ETH at $30.
Yeah, he's a champion. That's it, Scott.
Legend.
That's right. Well, he's been doing it for a while. He's like me too. We messed around in the Doge as well. I know he did that too. It's all good.
I'm sure he still has that $5 he got for his communion too.
All good.
Yeah, it's just going to go up. We're in a good shape, but I don't think we're going to see any big dips like we've been seeing. I just don't anticipate that, but it could happen. You never know.
Right. So buckle up. Here we go. Right.
Yeah, I think we're on a rocket ship from now to first part of next year. It's just going to go, I think, one direction mostly.
Very awesome.
I had to put up the not financial advice banner.
That's just entertainment.
That's right.